Life. Life is so deep, immersed. We only see what we see on the surface, but a lot is hidden deep within. Abigail painted a picture of a very happy, carefree young woman, the life of party. She was loved by both high and mighty, but no one really knew her. "Know what about her?" asked Margaret. "Have you started with this your analysis of people's life? Abeg, give us gist. What do we need to know, Biko?" Nkechi chimed in, waiting expectantly for Tessie to continue with the gist. Tessie sighed, weighing the consequences of what she was about to reveal. Abigail, their friend's life had layers that even the closest friends often missed beneath the radiating joy she displayed. She glanced at the eager faces of Nkechi and Margaret, longing for the juicy details that lay hidden beneath the polished exterior of their friend's public persona. "All right," Tessie began hesitantly, "but you must promise that this stays within us. It's not something that should see the light beyond this room." Nkechi and Margaret leaned in closer, their curiosity piqued. They nodded in unison, sealing an unspoken part of confidentiality. "Abigail has been going through a lot more than any of us realized," Tessie continued. "You see her smile and her energy at every party, always being the center of attention. But behind that, there is pain and struggle. Her family isn't as perfect as she makes it out to be. Her parents are on the verge of a divorce, and it's taking a heavy toll on her." Nkechi's eyes widened in disbelief, while Margaret's expression shifted to one of concern. "And there is more," Tessie added quietly. "She's been battling depression. The laughter and the endless nights of dancing, it's her way of coping, of masking the pain. She hasn't felt like she can talk to anyone about it." Margaret sighed deeply. "I had no idea." "It's not your fault," Tessie said, placing a reassuring hand on Margaret's arm. "She didn't want anyone to know, not even us. But I think it's important that we support her. She needs to know she's not alone, that she doesn't have to carry this burden by herself." Nkechi and Margaret nodded, filled with renewed resolve. The bond of the awesome four was being tested, but it was clear that they were determined to stand by their friend. "We'll be there for her," Nkechi said softly but firmly, "in whatever way she needs us." Tessie smiled, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. They may be only seeing the surface most of the time, but with friends like this, even the deepest struggles could be shared and faced together. The room fell silent as Tessie's revelation sunk in. Yet, Tessie couldn't shake off a sense of unease. Despite their resolve to support Abigail, there was an underlying truth she'd kept hidden even from herself. Abigail's life was fraught with complexities beyond the pain and depression Tessie had unveiled. Abigail's competitive streak was legendary, almost as famous as her social charm. Her mother's words rang in her ears every day, a constant reminder to never let her guard down, never fully trust anyone. Margaret and Nkechi, oblivious to the deeper psychological nuances of their friend's behavior, shared a glance, each silently agreeing to be there for Abigail. But Tessie knew it wasn't just pain they had to contend with. It was also Abigail's deep-rooted fear and jealousy. "My daughter, listen to me," Abigail's mother's voice echoed in her mind. "In this life, especially among women. Never trust anyone. When push comes to shove, you are on your own. Abigail had internalized the advice, molding it into a shield and a weapon. It drove her actions, pushing her to outshine those around her, including her closest friends. Tessie had noticed subtle hints, moments where Abigail's competitive nature had overshadowed genuine camaraderie. Tessie felt torn, wondering whether revealing this aspect of Abigail's character would betray her friend or save her from an eventual fallout. Could their bond withstand such a revelation, or would it shatter under the weight of distrust? As if sensing Tessie's turmoil, Margaret spoke up. "We need to talk to Abigail, but gently. Let her know we are here for her, but also make her realize she doesn't have to fight alone or against us." Nkechi nodded slowly. "Yes, but how? She's always so guarded. If we are not careful, she might see our concern as weakness or worse, a threat." Tessie took a deep breath, deciding to tackle the issue head-on. "I think our best approach is honesty. We've been friends for so long. It's time we break through these walls. We have to show her that trust goes both ways." That night, they gathered at Abigail's favorite spot, a cozy cafe she adored for its serene ambience. Abigail arrived, her ever-bright smile plastered across her face, masking the turmoil within. "Hey, what's the occasion?" Abigail asked, her eyes twinkling with curiosity and guarded suspicion. Tessie stepped forward, taking her friend's hand. "We need to talk, Abigail, about everything. Your struggles, our friendship. We are here for you, but only if you let us in." Abigail's smile wavered, her eyes flickering with mixture of fear and defiance. The urge to keep her guard up, to treat this as yet another competition, was strong. But something in Tessie's earnest gaze made her pause. "Okay," said Abigail softly, her defense slowly crumbling. "Okay, let's talk." And as the night deepened, so did their conversation. It was a tough road ahead, laced with honest confrontations and gentle reassurances. Their bond would be tested, yet strengthened by the rawness of laid-bare truths and the genuine effort to mend what was frayed. As the night wore on, the charged emotions and honest revelations seemed to foster a sense of unity among the friends. To an outsider, it might have appeared as if they were bridging gaps and overcoming past misunderstandings. But within Abigail's mind, a different narrative played out, a labyrinth of secrecy, jealousy, and vendetta. With every gesture of support and every word of encouragement from her friends, Abigail's smile widened, but it was far from genuine. Underneath, her thoughts churned with malevolent satisfaction. She marveled at her ability to deceive so easily, to manipulate the perception of those closest to her. Margaret, lost in her own optimism, had no inkling of Abigail's betrayal. The secret rendezvous with her boyfriend had been going on for months. Abigail took perverse pleasure in the control she exerted, savoring the power of her actions hidden beneath a facade of friendship. And then there was Tessie, who had always seemed to be a step ahead academically and career-wise. Under her breath, Abigail whispered curses, believing in the potency of the concussion from Baba. Her envy fueled a desire to see Tessie falter, to ensure she never felt the joy of a fulfilling relationship. Nkechi, oblivious to the brewing storm, continued sharing her own well-meaning advice, emphasizing the strength of their long-standing bond. Abigail nodded, her mind elsewhere, calculating the next moves to maintain her upper hand over the group. Tessie, Abigail, Nkechi, remember when we were kids and nothing could break us apart? Margaret's voice brought Abigail back to the present. We've been through so much together. No matter what, we're here for each other, right? Abigail forced a tear to glisten at the corner of her eye, playing into the sentimentality of the moment. Yes, we've been through a lot, she echoed, her voice trembling just enough to seem genuine. And we'll face whatever comes next together. The others nodded, moved by what they believed was Abigail's earnestness. But deep inside, Abigail smirked. The emotional charade was just another layer of her intricate scheme. She had become adept at playing the role of the loyal, loving friend while harboring dark intentions. This night, despite its outward appearance of reconciliation and support, had only solidified her belief in her own prowess, her ability to manipulate and control her surroundings. Promising to keep the lines of communication open, Abigail sipped her drink with her marks firmly in place. The awesome four might still believe in the strength of their friendship, but Abigail knew better. Trust for her was a weakness to be exploited, and she was in the game to win. Her thoughts remained cold and calculating. Margaret, Tessie, Nkechi, they were merely pawns in the grand play she orchestrated, and she vowed to herself that no matter how many nights of heartfelt conversations or support they offered, none would ever see through her facade. The weight of Abigail's unspoken trauma hung heavily in the air, a dark cloud obscuring the possibilities of true connection and healing. As Tessie, Margaret, and Nkechi continued their efforts to support her, they remained unaware of the deeper scars etched in Abigail's soul, scars that time and friendship had yet to uncover or comprehend. Tessie, with all her good intentions, simply didn't know. She hadn't known about the nights Abigail had spent in terror, nor the mornings she had risen with false smiles and buried anguish. The facade of confidence and charm that Abigail presented to the world was built upon layers of suffering, confusion, and betrayal far more profound than Tessie could imagine. Abigail's father, a figure supposed to offer protection, had instead been the source of her most harrowing experiences. His abuse had started when she was just a child, a vile corruption of innocence that her mother chose to ignore for reasons Abigail could never fathom. The silence of her mother, the betrayal of her protector, these shaped Abigail into someone who thrived in control, manipulation, and emotional distance. The abortions performed discreetly by Dr. Ola became haunting milestones in Abigail's young life. Each procedure was a grim reminder of a childhood lost, of a twisted reality that no child should endure. Despite outward appearances, these experiences hardened her, transforming her into someone who saw trust not as a bond, but as a liability. Margaret, sitting beside her, could never know the truth behind the hidden pain. Tessie, despite her perceptiveness, remained oblivious to the dark layers that Abigail so expertly concealed. Nkechi, though filled with good intentions, could never fully grasp the complex nightmares Abigail endured daily. As the back and forth of their conversations continued, Abigail felt a pang of bitterness. Could she ever truly trust anyone with these secrets? The thought of exposing such vulnerability seemed unbearable, a risk that was too great to reveal. Time passed, and though the awesome four grew closer in many respects, Abigail's true darkness remained locked away, a secret shared only with herself. The thought of unveiling her past, of admitting to the violations and betrayals she endured, was frighteningly foreign. Instead, she controlled what she could, navigated relationships on her terms, and wielded her secrets like shields. The friendships, despite their historical depth, continued to rest on fragile ground. Tessie felt a growing frustration at the barriers Abigail maintained, and Margaret began to sense that something profound was amiss. Nkechi, the ever-optimist, kept pushing for deeper bounds, unaware of the minefield beneath. Abigail, caught in the dance of deception and survival, continued to play the role she had perfected over the years. Trust, through and unblemished, was still elusive. Perhaps one day the layers would unravel, revealing the wounded soul within. But until then, Abigail remained behind her marks, a survivor of unspeakable horrors, navigating a world that could never fully understand the extent of her pain. Abigail walked to the bar, angry, and poured herself another drink. The cold, bitter drink burned her throat and stomach. Ah, if only this hot drink could take away my pain and the darkness, she thought. Abigail was trapped by her pain. She was a slave to it. She put the glass down hard on the counter. Her mind was filled with the thoughts of anger and sadness. Every time she tried to numb the pain, it didn't work. The days felt long and dragged on, each one blending into the next, pulling her deeper into her darkness. Her phone rang again, but she didn't even bother to look at it. She knew who it was, her mother. Persistent, pretending like a few phone calls could make things better after years of neglect. Why should Tessie always bring her problems into our talks? Abigail thought bitterly. She acts like her problems make her better than me. I just hate that girl. She poured herself another drink. The liquid gave a small escape, but it didn't last long. The icy feel and the burn in her stomach couldn't touch the real pain inside her. It was just fake relief, an illusion. As she stared at the bottom of her glass, bad memories flashed through her mind. Her father's scary gaze, her mother pretending nothing was wrong, and Dr. Ola's cold clinic. These memories built the prison she was in now, a slave to the pain eating her up inside. She was tired of pretending, tired of showing a strong face while feeling nothing but fear and anger. Her friendships with the girls felt fake and made her feel even more alone. They all had secrets, but none could understand hers. Nobody knew the deep betrayal and trauma that built the walls around her heart. The phone ringing finally stopped, replaced by silence. She almost wished it would ring again, just to distract her from the dark thoughts trying to swallow her. But silence was also her familiar companion, making her feel even more alone. Her father was sick? Good. Let him feel some of the helplessness and suffering he caused her. Let him rot in his own misery. The thought gave her twisted satisfaction, but no real relief from her inner pain. She imagined walking into the hospital room, standing over him, and telling him every bit of pain he caused her. Would his eyes show remorse, guilt, or that same cold indifference? It didn't matter, the damage was done, and forgiveness was beyond her grasp. Abigail threw herself onto the couch, tension refusing to leave her body. No more tears to cry, no energy to scream. Only numbness remained, emptiness that gave no comfort or release. Her friends didn't know the depth of her suffering, but they kept reaching out. They wanted to help, but how could they when they didn't even know what needed healing? Abigail despised their ignorance, their futile attempts to bridge gaps that were too wild and deep. She thought of Tessie's sincere face, the concern that felt almost insulting in its cluelessness. It was easier to hate Tessie than to admit she needed help too. Easier to drown the pain in alcohol than to face the years of trauma she had hidden away. The night stretched on, swallowing her in its darkness. Abigail was a slave to her pain, her memories, her unresolved past. Each sip of her drink, each fleeting escape into numbness, only chained her further to the shadows she tried so hard to outrun. For now, this was her reality. A cycle of pain and numbing, hatred and despair, with no end in sight. Abigail clutched her head, screaming into the empty room. "Oh God, why do you hate me so much? I am useless to the world. Useless, useless." The weight of her own words crushed her. She had tried everything to find joy and purpose, but it all seemed meaningless. The Baba's charm of being irresistible had failed me. There is no lasting joy in it, she muttered to herself. She, who had been the life of the party, was gradually losing touch as other upcomers were taking over. The hollow echoes filling the lonely space. The wild parties she used to love now sucked the life out of her, leaving her feeling more drained and empty. "I'm done for. Let me end it all," she decided, her resolve hardening with each passing second. Meanwhile, her friends, worried about her silence, decided to go to her apartment to spend time with her. They had no idea that she was teetering on the edge, ready to end it all. As she sat there, Abigail's mind wandered to her friends. How could Tessie react if she knew that Abigail had been so jealous of Tessie's effortless achievements in school that she had gone to Baba to sabotage her? Or how would Margaret feel if she discovered that Abigail had been sleeping with her boyfriend? "Life sucks," she whispered to herself, taking another long drink. She kept drinking, trying to drown the pain, but nothing could ease the torment inside her. As the alcohol clouded her mind further, she didn't hear the door creak open. She didn't see her friends cautiously stepping into the room, their faces laden with concern. "Abigail, are you okay?" Tessie's voice pierced through the fog of her thoughts. Startled, Abigail looked up, confusion and despair marking her features. She didn't know whether to feel relieved or annoyed by their presence. But deep down, a small, fragile part of her was glad they were there. Maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to face the darkness alone. "Abigail, what are you doing to yourself?" her friends cried out as they rushed into the room. "Leave me alone to die," she slurred, her voice thick with alcohol. "I'm useless to this world. I want to die." "No," Nkechi's voice broke with emotion, tears streaming down her face. "Abigail, allow us into your pain." "Ha ha ha ha. Pain is mild to what I am, my dear." Abigail's laughter was chilling, almost hysterical. "I deserve death. In fact, I think I am the senior sister of the devil. Ha 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 ha." Abigail was drunk and suicidal, her actions and words scaring her friends. They looked at each other, desperate and unsure of how to help her. "Abigail," Tessie began softly, trying to reach her through the haze. But Abigail cut her off with another manic laugh. "Tessie, do you know you will never get married? Ha 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 ha. The baba's charm is working. I am responsible for you not having responsible boyfriends." Tessie's face turned pale. Shock and hurt etched deeply into her features. "And you, Margaret," Abigail continued, her tone cutting like a knife. "I've been sleeping with Chinedu for months now." Margaret's eyes widened in disbelief. "What? What did you do? What did we do to you? Why, Abigail, why?" The room fell into a heavy silence, her friends now grappling with the betrayal, pain, and confusion Abigail had unleashed. Abigail, lost in her own torment, couldn't see the devastations she was causing. Nkechi stepped forward, her voice steady but full of sorrow. "Abigail, we need to get you help. We won't let you destroy yourself like this." Tessie nodded, wiping her tears. "We love you despite everything. Please let us help you." Abigail's drunken eyes flickered with a brief flash of recognition and then overwhelming despair. The reality of her actions and the gravity of her words settled heavily around them all. The room felt colder, the weight of Abigail's confessions and her friends' heartbreaks suffocating the air. It was a moment filled with raw, unfiltered emotions, binding them together in their shared grief and desperate need to save Abigail before it was too late. Abigail began to weep, her sobs racking her body. "How could you love me after all I have done to you? Leave me alone to die, please." She gently disentangled her hands from her friends, staggering as if she were headed to the bathroom. But instead, she was making her way to the kitchen. The kitchen seemed to call her, offering a final escape from her unbearable pain. "My life is dark and deep. I can't share these secrets with anyone," she whispered to herself, the weight of her actions heavy on her mind. Her friends, lost in their thoughts, were piecing together the many things that now seemed to fit like fragments of a broken puzzle. They didn't notice her enter the kitchen, but a short, sharp shriek of pain suddenly broke them back to reality. They rushed towards the sound, their hearts pounding. When they entered the kitchen, they saw Abigail sprawled on the floor, blood pooling around her. "No! Oh my God, no!" Tessie screamed, tears streaming down her face. Abigail was gasping for breath, life slowly ebbing out of her. The sight was overwhelming, but Nkechi quickly took charge. "Call a cab. We need to rush her to the hospital," Nkechi ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. Tessie fumbled with her phone, her hands shaking as she dialed for a cab. Margaret grabbed towels and tried to staunch the bleeding, applying pressure to the wound as best as she could. "Hold on, Abigail. Just hold on," Margaret pleaded, her voice breaking. Within moments, the cab arrived. They carefully lifted Abigail, struggling to remain calm as they got her into the vehicle. The urgency of the situation pressed them to move quickly, their frantic thoughts racing alongside the cab as it sped towards the hospital. "Stay with us, Abigail," Nkechi whispered, holding her hand gently. "We are not going to lose you." As the hospital came into view, the friends held onto the desperate hope that they could still save her, that this terrible night could end differently. They needed her to fight, to hold on just a little bit longer until help could arrive. The news came to everyone that she was pregnant. She had kept what has been happening from everyone. Her father had been the one going into her all these years. From when she had gone to see Baba, it was a disastrous journey. She had written on a small piece of paper which Tessie had read. She had gone through a lot, they thought to themselves. Did he rape her? Or did he sedate her to take advantage of her? They were lost in thought. How could a man be so cruel? How could he do this to his own daughter? The doctors made frantic efforts to save her as she struggled for her life. Her friends prayed fervently for her as they wondered in deep thought what had been happening to Abigail and how she was able to keep it away from them all. Hope you enjoyed my story. Please subscribe, like and share. Let me know on the comment section what you think should be the fate of Abigail's father. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and share to help my little channel. Bye bye. Love you. See you in the next video.